Welcome to Assembly Bethesda On Air. I am Hayne Fogarty, and I am glad you are here with me today. The text we are sitting with this time is Ecclesiastes 3:19 through 21. I want to read it slowly so the words can settle. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beasts, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. Who knows whether the spirit of man goes upward, and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth? There is a particular quiet that falls when these verses are spoken, isn't there? It's the quiet of a stone church after the last hymn has faded, when the only sound left is the soft settling of the building itself. The teacher isn't shouting at us here. He is observing. He's standing at the edge of that field where both the farmer and the ox have fallen, and he is simply naming what he sees. And what he sees, what he truly wants us to confront, is this profound commonality in our shared ending. It's a truth that often brings an immediate, almost instinctive discomfort.
Many people, myself included sometimes, hear this passage and feel an immediate discomfort. We sense a threat to the very dignity of the human person. We hear a claim that we are no different from the animals, that the image of God is somehow dissolved in that shared return to dust. But here's the thing. That isn't what the teacher is doing at all. He is not writing a grand theological treatise on the soul. Instead, he's simply walking through life under the sun, and he's refusing to look away from the shared ending that every single living creature faces. Now, Christian Gothic sensibility knows this territory exceptionally well. We are people, you and I, who light candles in dark places, who sing of both the cross and the empty tomb, who truly feel the weight of mortality without ever pretending it isn't there. We don't rush past the graveyard on the way to the celebration, do we? No, we pause. We look. We let the cold air touch our faces. Ecclesiastes, in its raw honesty, actually gives us permission to pause in exactly that way, acknowledging the reality of our earthly fate.
So let's revisit what the teacher says. The fate of humans and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath. Man has no advantage over the beasts, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. And then there it is, that open, almost haunting question. Who knows whether the spirit of man goes upward and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth? This question, my friends, is the hinge. It isn't a denial of anything profound. It's a profound recognition of the limits of what can be known from the ground level. From our vantage point under the sun, the end truly looks identical. The body stops. The breath leaves. The dust receives what the dust once gave. From that particular vantage point, the advantage of the human person is simply not visible in the manner of dying. It means the advantage, if there is one, must be found somewhere else entirely. And here's where the broader scripture steps in, clear about the uniqueness of humanity. We alone are made in the image of God. We alone carry the capacity for moral responsibility.
What's interesting is that while Scripture as a whole is absolutely clear about our unique place, we alone are addressed by the covenant-making voice. We alone carry the capacity for worship and the long conversation with the Creator. Ecclesiastes simply won't let us use that distinction as a way of avoiding the shared experience of death. The body still returns to dust. The breath still leaves. The silence after the last heartbeat is the same silence, whether the one who stops breathing walked on 2 legs or 4. That raw honesty, I believe, is part of the pastoral kindness of this profound book. It names the fear that so many of us carry in private. It doesn't mock that fear. It gives it a place at the table so that the fuller word of hope can be heard more clearly when it finally arrives. You know, we live in a time that often tries to manage death by subtly distancing it.
We speak of passing on, of moving beyond, or transitioning. The language, intentionally or not, softens the edge. Ecclesiastes refuses that softening. It speaks of dying. It speaks of dust. It speaks of the same breath leaving both man and beast. And that refusal isn't harshness for its own sake. It's clarity. And clarity, my friends, makes room for the true comfort that only the gospel can truly bring.
This Christian Gothic atmosphere, if you will, holds this clarity without ever collapsing into despair. We look at the open grave, yes, but we also look at the empty tomb. We feel the weight of that shared fate, and yet we also hear the profound promise that this shared fate is absolutely not the final word. The teacher's piercing question, "Who knows?" isn't answered by human speculation, but by divine revelation. The one who rose from the dead knows. The one who holds the keys of death and Hades knows. And the spirit of the one who belongs to Christ, well, it doesn't simply dissolve into the air. It is held, it is kept, and it will be raised. There's a subtle temptation, I find, when we emphasize the uniqueness of the human soul, to treat the body as secondary, almost as an inconvenience. But Ecclesiastes won't allow that either. The body is from the dust and returns to the dust, and that return is part of the story of the fall. The resurrection isn't the escape of a pure spirit from a disposable shell, is it? No, it is the glorious raising of the whole person. The very dust that receives us will one day hear the voice that calls us by name. That shared physical process that claims both man and beast, that is the very process that Christ entered and ultimately reversed.
So this passage, my friends, invites us into a very particular kind of reflection. We are invited to feel the commonality of mortality without ever concluding that human life is only animal life. We are invited to see the shared breath and the shared dust, and then, crucially, to look higher, to the God who formed both and who alone determines the destiny of the spirit. Our uniqueness isn't erased by the common ending. Rather, the common ending simply strips away the illusion that uniqueness grants us exemption from the ordinary lot of living things. Under the sun, the advantage isn't visible in the manner of dying, but the advantage, the true advantage, is found in our relationship with the God who stands outside that cycle. The teacher's radical honesty prepares the heart for that relationship. It clears away the false comforts, the polite denials, the soft language that tries to make death less than it is. And once that ground is cleared, that's when the true word can finally take root. Consider the false comforts. Death is natural. The soul is separate. Human uniqueness protects us. Ecclesiastes dismantles each of these. Death is real. The body matters. The shared process is not an illusion. And still, the story does not end there.
The Christian who reads this passage, with the rest of the canon in view, can hold this tension without forcing a premature resolution. We share the dust. We do not share the final destiny. The animals return to the earth, and as far as we are told, their story ends in that return. We, however, return to the earth, and we wait. We wait for the voice that once stood outside a tomb and called a name. We wait for the day when the shared fate is undone for those who belong to Christ. This waiting is not passive. It shapes how we live now. It influences how we stand at gravesides, how we speak of the body, of aging, of the slow approach of the end that every living thing faces. We don't deny the shadow. Instead, we walk through it with the profound knowledge that the shadow is simply not the last word. We keep the candles lit. We keep the watch. We keep the question of Ecclesiastes open in the presence of the one who already holds the answer. The teacher asked, "Who knows?" The empty tomb answers. The risen Christ answers. The promise of the resurrection answers.
There is a quiet strength in this posture. It doesn't require us to pretend that death is less than it is, nor does it demand we claim knowledge we don't yet possess. It allows the open question to remain open, while we rest in the revealed answer that has already been given. The atmosphere of Christian Gothic faith is particularly suited to this text. We're comfortable with stone and shadow, with the long silence after service. knowing the earth that holds the church also holds the saints. We need the clear word that names the shared fate and then points beyond it. The fate looks the same under the sun. Beyond the sun, the story is profoundly different. We live between those two truths, and we keep the candles burning until the day when the light no longer needs them. Thank you for joining me today. As always, it is a pleasure to spend this time with you. God bless, and until next time, courage. If you like what I do here, head on over to www.assemblybethesda.com.